Thunderbolts, asterisk.
That's right.
On a budget of $180 million, it's looking like the US opening is going to be 70 to 73 million. And globally, it's going to be somewhere between 160 to 175 million, which is okay. Bearing in mind, there's a few caveats on this, Mason.
Oh, yes.
It was released in China and is apparently the lowest MCU launch in 14 years.
Uh-oh.
So don't rely on China to save your film, Kevin Feige. Not this time or possibly ever again.
That's right. So the lowest opening in 14 of the 17 years that the Marvel universe has been around.
That being said, it has very positive word of mouth, it seems, or fairly positive word of mouth. The reviews have been good. There's a very good chance that this will have legs because there's nothing opening in direct competition for a few weeks at the very least. It also, probably more so than Brave New World, leads into things that people are interested in.
And I would say also, generally, word of mouth has been better.
Yes.
I think.
I said that, Mason.
you?
Good word of mouth.
No, I wasn't listening.
You need to listen to the words from my mouth. We need to
No,
lock
that's
in.
bad word of mouth. Like, objectively, that's bad word of mouth.
Mine's words of mouth, yes.
Okay.
That's right, yeah. I'm just baffled by what you think the story was.
Oh, come on, mate.
See if you can surprise me. Go.
All right.
Bearing in mind, I have seen this. And we're going to do non-spoilers and spoilers, but we're going to spoil most of the things that are in the trailer.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, get this.
What?
You know how you think that all the superheroes in the Marvel Universe are like cool and sexy and
Yeah,
stuff?
I do think that.
You think that. Well, guess what? Some of them are losers.
What?
And they put all the losers in this movie. And all the losers get sent on a mission.
Sure we're looking in a mirror? Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I was looking at your mirror.
But you would still be in it.
No, but it's burnt. Your loser image has been burned into your mirror.
Is that
like a
'cause
laser.
Because I cry into it too much.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I should probably get a new mirror.
You'll
Because
just
if
ruin
it's
that
only
mirror as
showing
well.
like a loser image of me.
Yeah.
Like when
But you'll just ruin the next mirror as well.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. Maybe I could get like paper towels, but mirrors.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, you kind of
Maybe you should just destroy all the mirrors in your house.
Not a bad idea, Mason.
It's not bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying I'm a big loser.
Anyway, bunch of big losers. They're
Yeah.
like, what if all the biggest losers of the MCU
Yeah.
got sent on a mission to do a thing?
Yeah.
But then they all meet up and they're like, whoa,
We're doing this thing. We
kill
can't work together.
Let's kill each other.
Yeah.
Wait a second, I've got a better idea. Let's team up and be best friends.
But not really. We'll say that we're not going to be best friends, but we are immediately.
That's right.
And we all like each other and feel sad. And we have sad emotions. We all have depression for various reasons. And we're not really heroes, even though we do nothing but heroic things. But some things we have done that aren't that heroic, most of which you haven't seen. Except for that time John Walker beat that guy's head in on TV or whatever with the Captain America shield, which is not okay.
Well, I mean, he didn't beat his head in. His head was pristine. It was just removed from his body.
But did he actually decapitate him?
I think so.
Because that's fun.
I think that's implied.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so what do they have to do then?
Oh, you know?
Run around, do a mission,
Save
save the world, etc.
Absolutely.
New York City, baby. This is from director Jake Schreier, who directed Robot and Frank. I don't know if you've seen Robot and Frank,
haven't,
but
but
it's a fun little indie
He also created the show Beef,
comedy
right?
drama. Oh, did he?
Yeah, he
Beef's
created Beef.
good.
Yeah, that's why Stephen Yeun was originally going to be cast in
Oh,
this. But then
that's
he was busy.
right.
Also, some of the writers are from Beef as well, I think. That's why everybody's depressed.
Beef writers. There you go. Well, that's very interesting. Everybody is depressed in this.
Yeah.
I'll say this, like, there's a lot of this is spoiled in the trailers. And I mean in terms of, like, action set pieces, certain lines, things that you are pretty obvious that are going to happen. But there is, like, it becomes more existential.
It does,
kind of,
yes.
Than your standard Marvel movie.
It's quite a small movie.
It is, yeah.
Like, it's a found family team movie in the style of Guardians or the Avengers, you know, a bunch of guys that don't get along, but they're going to have to get along.
It feels closer to the Black Widow movie than any of those, really.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, also for casting
and
reasons.
like, for example, in Avengers 2012, there's an extended action sequence that happens in New York City, and it covers this. It feels like it covers the entirety of New York City.
Yeah.
There's an action sequence later in this movie that is set in New York City, and it sort of covers a street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a smaller movie, but I think that's to its benefit for the most part.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
I think this movie would have worked way better, or it would have felt more welcome, and I think it probably would have done better a year after Endgame.
Right.
I think this is the sort of movie that people were looking for
Yes.
post Endgame, which is not a movie when the entire universe isn't at stake.
Yeah.
You know?
But it also, it does serve, and it's been 6 years since Endgame, to move the universe forward in a way that I think people were looking for then. I think they're probably less interested now. But yeah, so it feels like there has been a lot of movies and TV shows, which not all of which have been bad. There's been some really good stuff, but this one really is. This is important, and what's next is important.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and
I thought also this was an interesting movie in the sense that, like you mentioned, everybody in it is depressed. Like it's a movie about depression and finding solace in others.
Yeah,
and I kind of feel like it would resonate with two groups of people. One group is just people living their lives generally and going, things seem kind of bad right now.
Yeah, I feel generally just bad.
But also for people who are fans of the MCU that are feeling like it is kind of directionless.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the characters in this movie are just like,
What am
I
I
just go
doing?
around and I go into a building and I shoot a bunch of people and I leave and it's kind of boring and I keep doing this over and over again and I'm sad.
Yeah.
Kind
and
of
I
thing.
sort of don't even know who I'm really doing this for or why I'm doing it. But they've really leaned into like, there are no Avengers anymore. Even though there are.
Well,
I mean, we've seen in other movies that there's still teams of people doing things.
they're saying they're doing things, aren't they?
Yeah, was it Shang-Chi where the post-credits is like, look at all these rings or whatever?
Yeah, but they were just a couple of people in a room, weren't
What
they?
about the Eternals? What are they up to? They're a team.
No, they got kidnapped.
They got kidnapped
into
by
space.
a big space robot or whatever.
Yeah, that's
happened.
right. Yeah, they all got tried and executed for their crimes.
I think all in all, like it's pretty standard fare in terms of like a group dynamic that we, like you mentioned, like we have seen in like Guardians and even Suicide Squad and other like ragtag teams. But I do think all of those characters work well together. Like even like a lesser characters that is like Ghost is a minor villain in Ant-Man 2 and has a fairly significant role in this, I would say. And I think, and
She's in most of the scenes.
she's in most of the scenes. Yeah, but I think it's, I mean, the lead in this is Black Widow 2, played by Florence Pugh.
Correct.
Who I think is wonderful. I think she's a better Black Widow. I like her more than the previous one.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if you feel similarly, but I think there's just kind of more personality there. I think she's funnier. I think she's just more interesting in general.
Well, also these characters, there are jokes in this movie, as it is a Marvel movie, and it is therefore an action comedy.
It's a joke movie.
But the humor is derived from their personalities. It's not just them all doing quips.
What did you mention recently that didn't do that?
Who knows?
It was some movie where you're like, the humor is just like, we're all the quippiest person. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Ghostbusters. Yeah, but it was something more recent.
Oh,
than
yeah,
that.
it must have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Very recently. But in this one, we get David Harbour as the Red Guardian, and he's funny because he's so enthused. He's so enthused.
Uncharted.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's so enthused to be part of the team. That's why he's funny. You know?
Absolutely. And he also, he brings like heart and like, take pride in your work. There is meaning in what we do, even though I'm a big loser like all of you. But like, you know, that's not to say that we're not important and this isn't important.
And John Walker is funny because his wife left him.
That is funny.
It's funny, right?
Dude, he's having a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so on and so forth.
Yeah, and so on other characters that are in this for the length of the movie. Bucky, of course, shows up. I was under the impression that he wasn't in it that much, but he's in it quite a bit. And I think also what he does bring to this is a guy who's been in previous movies and he's seen a lot.
And TV shows.
And TV shows, yeah. And he's seen a lot. So he's just kind of like, I know how this goes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not do it like this. We'll do it. I'll run this.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I know how these movies go. You need a guy who knows how the movies go. Yeah, and again, Red Guardian is in awe of him because he is, and to some degree they all are because he's been through the most, I think.
And he's in a different point in his life where he's now a US senator. I mean, they wrap up that storyline in this. But,
they do, yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think Sebastian Stan is great, as usual. I think he's a good, I probably wouldn't have picked him specifically, I guess, but he's a good team leader, especially for a team like this.
Yes.
I think he works really well. And I don't know whether they have any plans to do it or even if he'd want to do it. I think he would be a good Captain America. I think you could bring him around to that at some point.
Yeah.
If they wanted to move it away from Sam Wilson, which they'll eventually have to do anyway. Yeah. But a lot of this, is where, we're heroes when we suck. And whatever. There's a lot of that. The villain, of course, is Elaine from Seinfeld.
That's correct.
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who's doing super shady, secret government superhero activities.
She's the quippy one.
She is the quippy one. She's got all of the quips. And she's tied to Lewis Pullman's character, Bob, who shows up very early on as a mysterious man who seems also like a bit of a loser and a nobody and can't do anything. But maybe there's more to him. And maybe you see that in the trailer. Should we save that for spoilers?
Let's save us for spoilers, James.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think also it felt like also a bunch of this, well, I know it was taken out of the trailers. There's like a few lines, like there's a moment in one of the trailers where Red Guardian mentions how cool the Winter Soldier is. Like that's not in it. There's moments where Bucky's talking about how you can't call ourselves the Thunderbolts. In this, they're named after a peewee soccer team.
Yeah.
But I got the impression that they couldn't call themselves the Thunderbolts because the previous president turned into a red monster.
Correct.
And
yes.
his nickname was Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah.
But it seems that's bare. I don't know whether they just went, you know what, people didn't like it or didn't see it that much.
Right. Yeah.
They removed all of that for some reason.
We can't call ourselves the new presidents of the United States of America because of what the president did and also that band.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
did Lump and Peaches.
Yeah, so it felt like that they removed kind of...
Yeah.
I think that would have been fine to keep in, right?
Yeah. There was a trailer at one point where they were pointing out, oh, this is from the creators of Beef. This is the cinematographer, what have you.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where you see them... It's Red Guardian and Bucky driving a truck.
And they're yelling.
And they're screaming. That's not in the movie either.
That must be before that crash bit that they
I think
do.
it is, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, also Baron Zemo was never in this because often he is leader of the Thunderbolts.
Correct.
That was never apparently considered. As you mentioned, Stephen Yeun was supposed to be Sentry at one point. I think Lewis Pullman is really good in this, actually.
As Bob.
As Bob. I think he's... Sorry, yeah.
You
It is in all the trailers.
Yeah, it is. No, it's true.
Yeah. But you mentioned also like bringing in like cinematographers, like known cinematographers and stunt coordinators and all of that. A lot of this is shot and done for real. And I think a lot of this can be faked, obviously, but I think the movie... You don't think about it because I think it looks good and you just kind of go with it.
Most notably, this movie starts with Florence Pugh apparently leaping off the second tallest building in the world.
Yeah.
But you'd never know.
No, you absolutely wouldn't.
Because there's no close-up of that.
No.
There's no...
She just steps off.
She just steps off and then then we pull way back and you just see a dot falling off a building.
Well, if you've seen the behind-the-scenes footage, she just does step off it and she probably falls like 10 feet and then they...
All right.
Pull her up and whatever. So,
well, there is a chance she would have fallen to her death.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think a lot...
Definitely.
Definitely. But I think a lot of the action on the whole, there's one particular superhero fight. Well, there's a bunch of them, but I think you know the one I'm talking about, which is quite good. It shows like the powers of certain characters compared to others.
Yes.
That's like a very... That to me was like, this is a fun comic book thing brought to life. Which is more of a spoiler thing. But as I said, though, I don't think, aside from like the kind of third act, a lot of this isn't particularly surprising, I would say. It gets kind of a bit Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and a bit existential, which I thought was an interesting thing to do in like a movie like this because I saw it with my son and even he was like, I didn't think it was going to be like this at all. He did really like it. He liked it more than he liked the Red Hulk movie.
Interesting.
But that's also maybe because he just saw this one.
Yeah, right.
But but no, he did like that. Didn't take away for him. It was still like, oh, this is a good movie that you can get something out of, and you know, it gives you an idea of like depression and bipolar and all of that. With you know that some you could be at any kind of level and understand where they're kind of going with it. So I think that was for this kind of movie, it was balanced reasonably well. It would seem.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't love it. I liked it. What would you say?
I certainly liked it more than The Last Captain America.
Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt. It was also sort of saying something.
Yeah, it was sort of saying something. We'll talk about this in spoilers, I think, but I'm absolutely going to give it credit for doing some stuff that Marvel movies haven't done.
Yep.
Certainly in recent times, it was nice to see heroes actually saving innocent civilians.
That's true.
Which hasn't been done in a while because it's always just like, lucky the city's abandoned, now let's do some lasers on these aliens or whatever.
That's right.
You know?
Exactly. Sometimes they'll dedicate whole movies to how they didn't do that, though. You know, every now and then.
It's true.
Yeah, Civil War, etc.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to say a best movie ever.
I'm going to say best movie ever as well.
I wonder if it's going to be better than the Fantastic Four, if this is going to be the best Marvel movie of the year. We won't actually know that yet. Let me stop you. You won't know that, and I won't know that until that movie comes out. And then even probably giving it a little bit of time
to think about it.
To think about it.
To reflect.
To reflect. we are going to do spoilers right here.
To sit in that fantastic number 4.
That's right.
Whatever that is.
Yes.
It's time for spoilers, James. Big time spoilers.
That's right.
I'll tell you this. You know, one of the reasons that I like this movie.
Why is that?
Because it didn't just do all the things I was fully expecting it to do.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, like with a lot of these movies, and sometimes people will be like, how did you know that movie was going to play out like that? Because
we've seen 100 movies.
We've seen 100 movies, at least. And we always know, like, our predictions for a movie is whatever the first draft thought is.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, well, obviously the twist is going to turn out to be this because that's the first thing anybody would think of, and they're not going to do a second draft of it.
Yeah, that's right.
But this movie did a bunch of stuff that I was not expecting.
Give me one example. You can give me 2 if you want, but maybe start with 1.
One example would be I thought that there was going to be a bigger reveal at the end.
So the lack of surprises for you.
You know what I did like? Is the fact
I thought there was going to be more punch at the end. I thought it was going to be better. Right? And that was surprising to me that they chose not to.
I like the fact that this didn't end in a huge punch-up necessarily.
Okay, yeah, all right.
There was some punching, but it just didn't end with, just a sky full of lasers and punching.
That was good.
I thought it was nice that it ended on, you can be surprised when these people got you back, and that's nice.
And you have an existential crisis or whatever.
Yeah.
I was surprised, even though I knew it was going to happen, that Taskmaster gets 10 seconds in this before getting shot in the head.
She does, however, get full credit in the she gets a full title line in the credits, and she gets a line. She gets a line in the movie. You see her face. It's Olga Kurylenko.
Yep. Very briefly.
I hope she got $500,000. She wouldn't have, but
because I know Jake Schreier was talking about, like, by killing her at the start, it gave you this, it's supposed to give the audience the sense that now anything can happen. Mm-hmm. But I never thought another thing was going to happen.
Absolutely not.
So that I was never like, oh, there's going to be something as dramatic as that, and because the rest of them, like, they live. So it is what
quite
it is.
Handily.
Yeah, it's true. I like the handling of handling. I liked Sentry's inclusion in this. Mm-hmm. Do you want to just talk briefly about where Sentry comes from in the comics?
Oh, boy.
And how much of this they do?
What I will tell you is that a friend of the show, Chris over at Comic Tropes, did
Amazing
a video
on it,
on the Sentry, but the Sentry's origin in the comics is a little bit meta.
Yep.
The idea was, hey, we in the real world created this character. Marvel had this character, but we all somehow forgot about it.
Yeah.
And the idea of the character in continuity is that the Sentry was a man named Robert Reynolds who gained incredible superpowers, became one of the Marvel Universe's greatest heroes, but in doing so, his powers also brought forth a being called the Void, and to prevent the Void from destroying the world, he had to erase everyone's memories of him in the world. So he erased the memories from everybody on Earth, including all his superhero friends.
Yeah.
And then the idea is, in the original Sentry limited series, that he regains his memory, including himself. He erased the memory from himself, and he remembers that he's the Sentry. Then he realizes, well, if I remember I'm the Sentry, the Void's coming.
Yeah.
And
he has to convince all the heroes one by one. So
that he is real. And
you briefly mentioned this, but they went. What magazine did they do this in? Was it Wizard? I can't remember. This is in the Comic Tropes video.
Oh, yes.
Where basically they also lied and said that this was a character that they were initially going to include in the 60s that got lost to time, and they had an interview with Stan Lee about it and whatever. So,
what if a man could fly?
It was Superman, basically, but he was depressed. And so, they really, it did work on that meta level. Uh-huh. And in the end, it's obviously revealed that the Sentry and the Void are the same being.
Yes.
And because this character, Robert, has bipolar, Bobbit. As bipolar, etc., and so they don't work any of that history stuff into this.
No, so in this
is a new super soldier creation.
So Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character was the head of some sort of scientific research organization that was trying to build their own superhero.
Also, she's sad for her own reasons.
She is sad for her own reasons. Was she sad?
Yeah, they had a flashback to war-torn wherever she's from.
Oh yeah, and there was somebody who was like, "I'm gonna kill your dad."
Yeah,
she's like,
"I'm gonna kill your dad. Yeah. Don't do it."
Makes even the worst people can be sad sometimes.
It's true,
and that's cool.
Yeah, thank you for saying that about me.
But yeah, so he's created this. They've created the Sentry program. They tested a bunch of people with this experimental procedure.
Seemed to have killed them all.
But Bob evidently was not killed.
No.
And he's got the full Sentry powers.
Yeah, but he also doesn't have a memory of that. And when he becomes a Sentry or the Void,
Yes.
he doesn't have really an understanding or control of it.
Yeah. And again, the Sentry's origin is in the comics is pretty elaborate.
Yeah.
And it's
a super soldier recreation.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever really quite worked
Like
entirely beyond that first initial
Well,
series.
he's not used much, is he?
No, and also part of the dynamic is that every time the Sentry does good, the Void wants to do something evil.
Yeah.
And so they sort of balance each other out, which is difficult to do, I think.
So just do nothing.
Because in the comic books, they're separate. They're usually depicted as separate beings.
Yeah.
Because the Sentry's power is such that he can manifest these two beings separately. But in this, it's more of a Homelander situation.
Yeah.
He's superhumanly strong and vulnerable, laser eye beams, telekinesis.
Yeah.
He can teleport, I think, or he can just move
He's very
fast.
quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, he kind of you can't even lay a hand on him really because he seems to have some kind of force field potentially or telekinetic.
Yeah. What I would
barrier.
say is that I liked Lewis Pullman's performance of the Sentry, but I usually think of the Sentry in the comics as sort of more aloof and kind of more godlike.
I think there's a bit of that when he first rolls in.
But then there's a moment where he's like, "Do you like the hair? I dyed my hair or whatever." And I'm like, to me,
I think
how he looks is more out of his hands. It's just kind of because in this they've given him they've specifically manufactured his design. They've tested out all sorts of costume options and logos and what have you. And they dyed his hair because blonde is more interesting or what have you.
Yeah.
But like the idea behind the Sentry in the comics is that just he's so powerful that he just sort of manifests a costume and he becomes a more like a godlike being.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is, I guess, how it feels like this is the level at which the MCU would approach this character.
I can also see why they wouldn't do he was always there, he was in all the Avengers and whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing we didn't really talk about. Yeah.
Too much.
I would have loved that, though. I think that would have been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be too much to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also there is a real challenge in bringing in a character of this power level and then what to do with them next, as we've seen in the comics. And if you look at I can't even remember the name of the character. That character from Secret Wars who has everybody's powers. Gaia, maybe?
It might be Gaia.
Yeah.
Sure.
You've got Drax's arm and
other powers.
the Hulk's feet or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think, and then they're very much like, we don't know what to do with this, and this was a bad idea.
So this
seems to be handled better.
Yeah,
they kind of put a lid on this.
Yeah,
at
he's
least
more
for
of
the
a
moment.
Hulk character, I would say, because when we get to the post-credit sequence, he hasn't transformed into the Sentry in a long time. Also, he changes, but like when
his hair goes back.
Well,
I guess he can do
whatever.
He can
do that.
I think his aloofness does as the longer he is as the Sentry and after he gets in that fight. I think his aloofness kind of comes through then.
Yep.
Like when he realizes the level that he is at and how he's stronger than all the Avengers combined and he's basically a godlike being. I think that's when you kind of see see that. But I also, so when he does become the Void, apparently you'll do like a shadow power on you and you will turn into you'll disappear into a void and a shadow will be left. That's apparently inspired by the Hiroshima. The nuclear blast. It's a pretty terrifying visual. But there is a moment where you see a little girl get shadowed, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be reversed.
Yeah, of course.
There's every single person that this happens to.
Well, I actually went. You skipped a premiere to this.
I did, yeah,
because you didn't feel like it. But I was there, and I ran into the Sandspans boys.
Yeah,
and we had a conversation about what could the MCU do at this point to shock us? And we did say, child murder, but obviously not in this sense. In the sense of they're blipped away, they're going to get blipped back. There's no way in this world that they'd be like, well, your alter ego killed this kid and they're never coming back. Obviously,
you can shoot Taskmaster in the head, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not
exactly,
a kid.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I'm
just a victim of human trafficking.
Would be surprised by. That's true. Would be like a kind of meta thing. I think eventually they are going to run into like a Jack Kirby or a Stan Lee. Kind of
it's
thing.
inevitable.
Yeah, I think
a James Gunn. Do you think
they might?
They go into the DCU and they meet James
Kevin
Gunn.
Smith.
DC. Kevin Smith would be there.
Yeah, I reckon Kevin Smith will probably bring Foggy Nelson back from the dead.
That's right. And Spider-Man will swing him through the city.
Matt Murdock will be like, bring him, but please, Kevin Smith, please. It'd be Snooch to the Nooch if you brought back my friend Foggy.
To the Nooch, yeah. So yeah, after the Void starts voiding everybody. You know what I really like? There's a conversation between the Red Guardian and Yelena about how she's a shitty person. She's lived a shitty life and she's miserable.
And it's your fault, Dad.
But I think his speech is like genuinely moving. I think that is really well written and their relationship is really well fleshed out. I always liked. I think Black Widow is a better movie than people give it credit for.
All right, then.
In particular, like I think the relationship stuff in that really a lot of the time works. And, you know, David Harbour, big dad energy. So I think, he brings a lot of that to this.
Yes.
And I think that's a pretty strong element of this movie. But yeah, I know you talked about it earlier, but when they're inside the void and it is like a going through your memories, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind situation, they got to kind of convince Bob to stop doing a big void on everybody.
One of the criticisms I saw of that particular scene is that we didn't see everybody's internal turmoil.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And but I first of all, I kind of think that, you know, some of those characters have had that worked through before. Like I got a big laugh in the theater when, you know, they were like, how did you get through all of your stuff? And Bucky's like, yeah, I had a perfect life. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I thought it was fun. And people were like, well, shouldn't we have seen some of that? Yeah, but I mean, he's been in several movies.
We've seen that they have dealt with that.
You know, he got his own series.
We see his flashbacks all the time.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't see.
I think it's okay to do a throwaway kind of thing.
Yeah.
I really did like. I loved the fight where they all try to team up on Sentry, and it's not like a fight at all.
No,
it's just. And the moment where like Bucky's like he takes his jacket off and he's like, all right, I'm ready, but he doesn't even doesn't even make a mark on him. I thought that was really good, and just as an exploration of how powerful the Sentry is.
Yes,
visually I thought that was.
It also doesn't even really feel like he's trying.
No, he's not. He could just not move. It would seem, but no, I like that. I think you're seeing a character of like of that magnitude. At least ground level heroes, I thought was fun. Anyway, so what's Thunderbolts asterisk mean, Mason?
It turns out it's just New Avengers.
That's right.
Yeah.
You happy with that?
That's all right.
Oh, you were also looking for a bigger Norman Osborn reveal.
I always thought there would have been one. I guess they weren't going to do that.
Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
But I mean, I think maybe to some people the idea of New Avengers, like that is a big reveal.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, nah, team's a team.
It felt,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, also they really kind of hang a hat on it with like, look at these losers.
I enjoyed that actually. That's something that I appreciated is that they was the idea that they're the new Avengers in this universe, but they are also to some degree the new Avengers in the real world.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people like, no, why don't they just bring back Captain America and Thor and Iron Man? Because they're expensive. They're real expensive to bring those guys back. Several of them are dead.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just do that. Why don't they just? Well, because they can't.
And we did it already.
Because real world. You know, real world concerns are there.
Absolutely.
And so I like the fact that they were like, all the media attention was like, nah, they're the B-Vengers. They suck. They're bad.
Yeah.
I don't like them. Who's this loser?
I feel like
this guy's a loser.
I feel like also it's a throwback to when they first revealed they were making these movies in like the mid-2000s.
Yeah, right.
And the articles were like, Marvel rolls out its B team because it's Captain America, it's Iron Man, it's Thor. It's like, who gives a shit about any of these characters? And again, now obviously yes. But it felt like similar to that, but in universe.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not saying that these characters will like reach the heights of those because they probably won't. But I think they realized at this point that you can't really replace the Avengers. So why not just be like, this, you know, this, and we know nobody really likes this or thinks this is cool, but, you know, so we're going to acknowledge that. And it's also interesting that Sam Wilson owns the copyright to the Avengers, apparently, because he's starting his own Avengers team, taking his bloody time, though.
Yeah,
what have you been doing?
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. At least this is
have you got? Other Falcon?
Well, they've got...
That sucks too.
Here is who he's got, assuming that the actors will come back. He's got Other Falcon.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
Probably Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Will he be back?
Probably.
He's too busy not being in Now You See Me 3.
Now to 3, man.
Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Shang-Chi. But again, they've not been in anything
we don't know.
together. We don't know.
Doctor Strange, maybe?
Doctor Strange, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels
also, that's going to be hand-waved away immediately.
Yeah.
Like, I think they'll do in the Avengers Doomsday, they'll arrive at the same location at the same time.
Yeah,
they're like, who are you? You're not the Avengers, I'm the Avengers. And then they'll just be the Avengers.
Yeah, they're all just the Avengers. I mean, maybe it would have been more accurate to call them like the Dark Avengers or just keep them as the Thunderbolts. That would have been
cool.
fine, but I guess it's a fun little meta twist.
I guess.
To be like, I guess.
I think it should have been Norman Osborn.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do post credits.
Okay.
The mid one is the Red Guardian cereal.
Do we got any other? Apparently they were giving away those Wheaties boxes. You can get them
for free.
No, I think you probably have to pay.
How much money they cost me?
Heaps.
I don't want to buy that actually. So the Red Guardian's in a supermarket and he's like, "Look at me, I'm famous."
Oh yeah,
now.
that's fun.
Yeah,
bit of fun.
But the real post credits is, which apparently was filmed about a month ago, according to Jake Schreier. He goes, "I didn't film that scene. I was there when it was filmed, and I can say that it comes from the set of a production that might be starting production right around now. So it might be fun for people to stay and watch." So it's very clearly shot on the set of Avengers Doomsday and whatever they're doing. Bucky also has a wig, it seems. Sebastian Stan's got a beautiful...
Oh, yes. Because he's currently, if you see him in real life during interviews, he's shaved his head.
He just shaved his head, yeah. But I think he's had shorter hair more recently as well. Anyway, so it's a year on and they're talking about how their team sucks. Mm-hmm. They look pretty good in their little outfits, though.
I think so, too.
John Walker didn't bend his shield back. What is his shield, anyway? It was bouncing around. Did you manage to get a vibranium one? Looked a bit scratched up too, Mason. Yeah,
see, that's the thing as well. In the MCU, there's not as much reverence for the Captain America shield as well. Yeah. Like, what's the deal with Captain America's original shield? Like, it's been in bits.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Just works most of the time. It's pretty bulletproof, it seems.
liked his little G.I. Joe hat that he had on.
That was fun,
Duke.
Too. Yes.
What are they called? A Kangol?
It might be a Kangol. It's
probably
a beret.
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 Yeah.
Beret to you.
Thank you. And anyway, it's the Fantastic Four shows up for interdimensionally. Yeah.
I would love to know how many other people were spoiled by the because right before you see that.
Oh yeah, I was spoiled by that.
I was spoiled, but right before you see the post-credit sequence, it's all the music.
All the music's there.
All the music listed in order,
song?
And the last song was Fantastic Four main title theme, and I'm like, oh okay, I know what's happening.
Cool.
We haven't heard that yet. Here we go. Yeah.
And then we did. We heard it just now.
Yeah.
According to IGN, Thunderbolts has a post-credit scene for 2 minutes and 54 seconds. That is the longest post-credit scene of any MCU project.
If you say so.
Well, apart from Rogers the Musical from the Hawkeye television show.
So
I guess it isn't then.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one felt like a post-credits to something that I do care about.
Right.
Which it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, Mason. Should I get some reviews here going from people who watched this?
Please.
And sent them to us. This is from Will, who says, "I had fun with it, solid B+. I'm not sure if it kind of ruined the experience for me or made it better, but I kept finding myself comparing the movie to Suicide Squad and finding that this movie did everything better. Not that that is hard to do. I also thought that Bob's story did Joker better than Joker. Depression, etc.
Oh, sure.
I kept wanting to give the guy a hug and some encouraging words. Yeah, I think he did give a really good performance in that sense. Very vulnerable. Ryan says, I really liked it, but I think the response is overhyped. What amazed me is how much it felt like a Phase 1 movie. Seemed smaller, good actors, but not really huge names. Contained story and with teasers at the end. Also, sadly, the music credits spoiled the last credits. Yep. Ara says, maybe my expectations are too high. Like I said, I expected Brave New World to be a shit show with all those reshoots and poor reviews, so I was fine with it just being passable. This was much better, but my expectations were so high it felt like a letdown. Harry says, great in-camera stunts, clever, sparse, and effective VFX. Florence Pew 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 was amazing. Love the emotional resolution to the story and very creative depiction of mental health. Bipolar representation for the win. Had a blast, a cry, and a laugh. A great outing. And Greg says, best movie ever, best Marvel movie in a while, and a refreshing shot in the arm.
We should call them Marvel movies.
Agreed. A refreshing shot in the arm.
Is it too late to start calling them Marvel movies?
Now.
Okay, great.
Refreshing shot in the arm for the franchise just in time for the Doomsday/Secret.
The Marvel Cine Uni.
Oh, that's good, Mason.
I think it's good.
You ever going to be sick of having such great ideas?
No.
All right, then.
It's like a rush of genius every time.
Like taking the Limitless pill?
Like taking the Limitless
pill.
But
all the time.
All the time.
You don't even need it.
I don't need the Limitless pill.
Yeah, because it's not real also.
That's true.
Great. Cool. All in all, movies.
Pretty good?
I reckon it'll probably make about 500 million.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Pretty good?
It's good enough.
Good for them.
I think it will be remembered fondly-ish.
Do you think this podcast will make $500 million?
Eventually, if we do it for long enough.
I think so too.
If we can live 1,000 years.
Oh my God, we can do it.
All right, you know what it's time for?
What's it time for?
What do you think it's time for?
What are we reading?
Yep.
What are we going to read?
Correct.
Nice.